Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Hey photographer, Jessica Whitaker here, and in this video I'm talking about if the Canon 5D Mark IV camera is still worth it in 2024. I've done a full review video of the Mark IV where I dive more into the specs. That review will be linked down below. In this video I want to speak candidly about the 5D Mark IV in the age of mirrorless. I've used this camera for the past 8 years. I remember getting it around 2016. I bought it brand new, which is something that I avoid nowadays. Now I look to purchase my gear secondhand and I get everything on KEH.com. I do primarily portrait photography, so that falls within branding photography, engagements, graduation photos. I don't photograph weddings anymore, even though I have used this camera to photograph almost all the weddings. The reason why I have not upgraded to mirrorless is because I don't find a need for it quite yet with my business. I can't justify the price tag of switching from my perfectly good Mark IV that is still a powerhouse camera to a mirrorless camera. I'm all about being a conscious consumer, and I have made this clear on my Instagram. So if you need a bit of a reality check or a sigh of relief when it comes to buying new gear or being pressured to make a switch or an upgrade, check out my Instagram account because I will always bring you back to the place of make a responsible choice financially and upgrade when you know it's best for you and your business, and don't succumb to the marketing of the technology industry. Another reason why I have not upgraded to mirrorless that goes with not feeling like I need to do it quite yet is because I'm not prioritizing saving for it financially, because there are other things in my life that I want to put the money towards. This is the way I encourage you to start thinking. Be a conscious consumer. Yes, I do see myself upgrading in the near future, and this is something that I've talked about for 2 years now. Maybe by the end of 2024 or the beginning of 2025, depending on what my accountant says. The main draw for me for mirrorless is the focusing. It is so much better, faster, it's sharper, but it's not enough for me to justify that $5,000 plus price tag. Plus, I also would most likely want to start getting RF lenses, which are like 3 times the price of used EF lenses, which are the lenses for the DSLR cameras. I do have a Canon R camera that I use to film YouTube videos on, and I bought that camera directly from one of my best friends. I knew that it was in good condition, I trusted her, and I know her in real life. I was looking to add a second body for filming YouTube videos on. That's not something I would prioritize when I first started YouTube or social media. It's been 10 years of me teaching online here on YouTube. It was time for me to make an upgrade, because before then I would either use a friend's camera to film on or this camera I'm currently filming this video on, which is my little tiny kind of point and shoot. It's the Canon M50. It doesn't cut it in terms of quality when we are photographing in various lighting situations. It's just very standard. It's good for vlogging. I came to a point where I realized my stinginess was getting in the way. So when my friend was selling her Canon R for $800, I jumped on it. I want to now share with you who I think would suit the Mark IV in 2024. I believe that this would be a good beginner camera that is full frame and professional grade. Or if you are moving from a crop sensor or entry-level camera and you do not want to switch to mirrorless, or you do not see yourself being able to afford mirrorless for a few years, it's also a great transitional camera. The reason why I think that this is a good beginner camera if you're serious about photography is this camera can grow with your photography. It's not entry-level, it's professional grade, but the beauty of this camera is you can use it very simply. Still make sure that you learn how to shoot on manual and use manual on this camera, but you can customize it and go deeper with the settings as you evolve in your photography business and as your knowledge of the technology of the camera expands. If you're just starting out with your photography business, you also might be looking to build or refresh your photography website. And this is the perfect segue to talk about my sponsor, Squarespace. I've been using Squarespace since 2015. All throughout the years, I've helped other business owners, not just photographers, but influencers, doctors' offices, coffee stands. I've helped them build out their websites, and I've done everything on Squarespace. The first thing you need to do after you purchase your gear, you've got a couple of photo shoots under your belt, whether they're free or paid clients, is to create a photography website. Still have your Instagram and TikTok and post on there for consistency, but do not prioritize social media until your website is up and running, because your website and your email list, which I'll talk about in a moment, is the only piece of real estate online that you own. And with your website, you are able to do something called SEO, search engine optimization, which I have a video on. SEO is what enables you to appear in Google search when someone's looking for a specific type of photography in your area. You can book clients and generate cold leads. People who have never heard of you, they found your website because of SEO. That's the beauty of SEO. SEO is how you keyword your website, how you name the pages and the descriptions, and Squarespace makes it super easy for you to plug and play the information on all pages and all elements. Squarespace has always had gorgeous designer templates that are plug and play, but now they have AI that can assist you in building a totally custom website. This is a guided design system called Squarespace Blueprint. Choose from dozens of professionally curated layout and design options to create your unique online presence and reflect your artistic voice. Your website with Squarespace will be tailored to you, your business, and optimized for every device, so you can show up more often to more people and grow your photography business to markets you want to book more of. In addition to your website, you also need to prioritize your email list. This is the other piece of real estate that you own online. The TikTok ban is a perfect example of this. If TikTok disappears, you lose all of those followers. So you might experience right now, either as the user or as the creator, everyone is trying to bring their audience from one platform to the other, from TikTok to Instagram. I'm not saying this is going to happen. You lose contact with all your followers and all your following. Squarespace now allows you to have your email list and send out campaigns, as well as invoicing. Squarespace is truly the all-in-one platform, from building a beautiful website to hosting your email list to appointments and invoicing. Start your free trial today. Go to squarespace.com/Jessica Whitaker, and you will get 10% off of your first purchase of a website or a domain. The main reason why I would upgrade from my Mark IV to mirrorless is because of the focusing. I've used mirrorless cameras in photography reviews, camera comparisons. I've also just used some of my friends to try it out. And of course, I also have my Canon R that I use for YouTube videos. The main reason why I would upgrade is because the focusing is faster. There's more focusing points. I love that now you don't have to manually select an area and go back and forth between it. Like, I could just even hand my camera to my mom and have her take a photo of me, and she doesn't have to do any focusing because it's all auto tracking and it will be in focus. Whereas before, it's a bit of a tutorial every time I have her take my photo. The focusing is more accurate. It's also incredible in soft backlighting photos. I want to share now who I think it would be worth for you to upgrade to mirrorless, if that makes any sense. And if you identify with any of these pain points, even if you're not one of these types of photographers, you might be able to take this advice and apply it to yourself. So the main two types of photography I recommend is family photography, especially if you are photographing little kids, and wedding photographers. For example, if you are photographing wiggling kids where their expression can change within a matter of seconds, or if you are a wedding photographer and you need a camera that has faster focus so you can get the perfect ceremony photo or during the reception. Both of these subjects, but especially family photographers, usually primarily photograph during golden hour, which can be harder to get razor sharp every time with the Mark IV. The technology is better with the mirrorless cameras, therefore the focusing is better and more accurate, which will give you a larger selection with those golden hour photos that sometimes we can miss the focus with otherwise. The Mark IV is still fine for prints, but if you are a photographer who is making 5 figures on a single customer customer that is purchasing a wedding album or a fine art print. Maybe you're building an entire gallery wall. It happens. There's actually a Build and Bloom photography podcast all about how to get started in selling prints. And yes, there is a market for high ticket sales when it comes to printed goods. Anyway, the point is, in that case, if you're going to start offering prints, or you do right now, I do think you need to upgrade the gear. I'm going to close out with 3 points that touch on the specs, but again, this isn't the full review. So number 1, the Mark IV is durable. It's weather sealed, and this camera can handle extreme environments. In fact, I brought it on my trip to Antarctica and it was snowing and raining and the camera was totally fine. I live in Seattle, I grew up in Seattle, and I started photography when I was very young. And even with my Mark II, I would be photographing my friends in the pouring rain doing our artsy fun photo shoot, and I was never concerned about the camera being damaged. I think sometimes we're a little too precious with our gear, and there is some gear that's not weather sealed, it's not durable, so you do need to be wary of it, but I've never been too precious about my Mark IV. I've taken good care of it, and that's why it's lasted me so long, but the rain, the snow, the weather, it's never an issue. The camera has a large viewfinder, larger than my Mark II, and it makes it easy to compose the shots. But when you compare it against mirrorless, which have those beautiful bright LED screens that also pop out, this one is flush to the camera, it does not move, and it can be inconvenient at times. The viewfinder of the Mark IV is not as good. It doesn't even come close to the new mirrorless cameras. However, had I not had the chance to work with mirrorless cameras, I wouldn't have noticed a difference. So I don't really think that's a big pain point or reason to switch, but I do have to say the mirrorless camera screens are better. It's just better technology, and it is so helpful when the screen itself can pop out and move around. When the Mark IV came on the market, it was one of the best Canon cameras for low light, which is perfect if you are a wedding photographer. Low light is not as good as the mirrorless technology. Going back to if you're a wedding photographer, I do recommend that you switch to mirrorless. Still, make a wise decision, save up your money, do not go in debt for any photography gear. But when it comes to the low light reception or the sprinkler send off, it will make a significant difference and you won't have as much noise. The Mark IV doesn't have that bad of noise until you get really high up there with the ISO. And sometimes it becomes a moment of, I guess I'm gonna switch these photos to black and white because I'm gonna put a grainy filter on it and call it a day. Definitely worth the switch if you're a wedding photographer. This is a side note, but you also need to think about, are you booking enough photo shoots already that will help you justify almost the cost and make a reasonable decision? If you have just started out in photography and you are on a budget, I suggest that you work for about 6 months and work on your marketing, work on your website, and then make the upgrade. I would say that with whatever I've shared, if you view it as a pain point or a con and you want to upgrade to mirrorless, but you cannot spend $10,000 on the brand new mirrorless camera plus the lenses, opt for an older mirrorless camera, something under $1,500. If you know that down the line, maybe in the next year and a half, you know you're going to be upgrading to mirrorless, but you've grown out the current camera that you have. Maybe you're working with a Canon Rebel, a very entry-level camera that can only handle so much. I would make that transition now to mirrorless, but with that older, cheaper mirrorless camera, so that when you start to add more lenses to your collection, you're going to be buying the lenses that are the RF. Those are specifically made for mirrorless cameras. The EF lenses you can use with an adapter on the mirrorless camera. That's what I do, but it's just something to consider, especially if you only have one lens in your collection and you know you're going to be adding more. If you're a photographer who is not worried about budget, you're looking for a professional grade camera in 2024, I would skip the Mark IV and go for a new mirrorless camera. I recommend still buying it secondhand. Of course, that's just me. I'll have a handful of options linked down below for the new mirrorless cameras that I recommend. I'll link both new and the used secondhand gear. I love my Mark IV. I love the way it photographs and the colors that it can produce, but the clock is starting to tick for me as new technology rolls out with with mirrorless cameras. Everybody has their unique situation for their photography and business. And if you are looking for more specific insight, I recommend for you to join my Build and Bloom Photography Facebook group. It's a kind, encouraging, and inclusive photography community where you can ask questions about your specific business, whether you need help drafting a response to a difficult client situation, you want an extra set of eyes on the website you're about to launch, or you need help choosing a camera or lens for your collection. There are no dumb questions in this group. There are other communities out there where you might feel nervous to post or like you're going to be judged, but that's why I started Build and Bloom back in the day, because I was nervous about asking questions, and some of those were financial, like should I buy this $1,000 lens? Build and Bloom is my best free resource, and I also have the Build and Bloom Photography podcast available for you to listen and learn wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to hit subscribe so you're the first to know when new free videos for your photography come out, and I will see you in my next video. Click right here to watch and to learn. I'll see you there.